So I've been having some good thoughts. Sometimes you get onto some good ones that have some really interesting ideas, like the Bock Saga. You get into some really, really interesting ideas. And you don't come across books like that often. And I've just been going through this real slowly. The Coiled Serpent is just kind of one of the ones that has some ideas that I find so extraordinary. It wouldn't even occur to most people. Outside of spiritual circles, and then it still doesn't translate to be accessible by people who are ready for it. November, no nut November, the memes of semen retention, whatever you want to call those memes and wherever they came out of, I don't even remember anymore. Nutty drink, nutty load. There are a lot of concepts that are hard to have faith in, let me say, when there are heavy factors, heavy elements that represent it, like the spiritual people or the yoga people or the meme people or whatever you want to classify them. I don't really have a better word. The No Fap stuff. Don't Ask No Fap. You guys remember a Don't Ask No Fap patch, and I guess a little bit of a meme that we started up way back in the day. It was modeled after some intelligence agency mission completion badge. And I've never looked at it in a bigger picture in regards to a civilizational bottleneck. And I really started enjoying it. As I was saying, you come across books that really slam you with the good stuff, like the Bock Saga. Try not to worry about the symbolism of the serpent coiled or the serpent upright and all that stuff, all the Bible stuff and all that. I'm not exactly going to worry about that quite right now, but it's really been interesting. It's a gigantic, interesting prison that I didn't have my head wrapped around. Let me put it that way. There's a curiosity on big prisons that you're born with, but if it's too washed, some of the tone is lost of what happens with sexual energy, let's say. When it's really washed by someone like Dale Carnegie, when it's not spoken of in serpent style and sex style, you lose a lot of your conception of the expenditure of energy. But I've never really looked at the evolution of civilization and what can bottleneck a total transformation of mankind, let me just say that. I never looked at these things as those jail cells, those whatever you want to call them, vestibules. It's too much for my brain to handle right now because it's way too good. It's not Hindu stuff or Buddhist stuff. Just wanted to say that. The collective conscious, or the noosphere, pretty much the sum of the vibe of every inhabitant of this realm, I would define that as. But it looks like the No Nut November sphere. Looks like that is the bottleneck to the noosphere being collectively evolved. There's a barrier to entry of tapping in or making huge impacts with the collective unconscious. And it looks like that old November rain looks like it could be the bottleneck to making any big changes worldwide. I would put that forth. And a lot of the ancient wisdom seems to be there already. I say that it is a hindrance to the evolution of civilization, and a gate you cannot pass unless it's mastered to even make any spiritual progress. It's just interesting. I really find it's a bit scary, but I find it interesting, and it makes sense that we all know that pornography and such is a military-grade weapon. There's a reason, well, the military uses everything as a weapon, but the reason why the whole sex sells and sex in every single thing, we all know it's a spiritual weapon as well. Of course. Where does that energy go? Where is it donated to? What sort of demon thing eats it? Maybe that's their only food. Seed. That energy, that misdirected energy, seems like it's the bottleneck to everything. It's the most hardwired and strongest drive, therefore it has to be the key. Has to be the key to the Golem factory. It's interesting to me. I've been trying to get to the bottom of it. I've been trying to get to the bottom of it because it was hair-raising. It was hair-raising to me. It was like a scene from The Damn Shadow. Remember from 1994? He uses sorcery to completely make invisible this gigantic hotel right in the corner of on Main Street or something. It just looks like an abandoned lot. That's his headquarters. That's how he can hide in it. I found it interesting in the concept of comparative mythology or comparative religion, I guess you could say, or comparative philosophy. And it's just it's honestly, it shocked me. I'm not going to pretend. The possibility that it is a straight barrier, a barrier to entry completely. Oh, a hard bottleneck, not just of slave control. Mastery of some of these ideas put forth is required to get to a perfect self. I don't know. How else do you want me to say it? If someone's got a better term for it, then let me know. Just pick it up. Pick it up and read from anywhere. It's like reading a book from an alien world. That's what this is. It's like, just because how everyone has been programmed, no matter where you're from, it's like reading a biology book from another dimension. 10 pages, I think, is all I'm going to read of it. I think I'm just going to make the rest up. Just some stuff in here that I just couldn't handle. It is just because spirituality has been practically discarded that sensuality has become paramount, for there is a close relation in inverse ratio between the two. Only where the one is absent can the other rule. I thought that had never crossed my mind, ever. That has not once ever crossed my mind. That the barrier to entry to any spiritual work at all is No Nut November. Is that shocking to anybody else? Therefore, the only reason civilization or society is allowed to be in a sewer or destroyed at all is that what I just said right there. Like, that is the reason. This was as shocking to me. It's shocking like the Bock Saga. Glands and secretions. We could do some secretions. Here's a little bit of a summation. Man has learned to control many of nature's forces, but as long as he cannot control the forces within himself, there can be no question of real civilization. Control of appetites is the first step in human culture. See, that was shocking to me. Things are never described in this manner, is what I'm saying by the whole thing that I was babbling about language. Has anyone ever described it as the bottleneck to culture itself, and the bottleneck to civilization itself, and the bottleneck to quality of life itself? Has anyone... I've never been introduced to that idea until recently. People are like, nah, it's no nut, we do it for the memes, and then we beat to Gwen Stefani. I haven't heard the reasons behind it as being the bottleneck to culture and civilization itself. It scared me. Therefore, the only reason civilization or society is allowed to be in a sewer or destroyed at all is that what I just said right there. Like, that is the reason. Because the machine is so big. It's so big, and people are controlled in many ways that even those among us who are relatively learned are completely unconscious of. Which, again, that scares me. It's interesting. Scary. Does that scare anybody?